The socially acceptable. That is a powerful construct. It's a force to be welcomed with. It's the kind of teaching which creeps silently into our lives. It's centered in thinking of who's in, who's out, who's acceptable, who's not acceptable. And these are lessons we receive from our families, from schools, from neighbors, from towns, from workspaces, and from the church. It was a conservative church which first taught me about what it means to be a Christian. They had a lot to say about what Christians do and do not look like. This particular church, like so many churches, was immersed in a theology which is called original sin. In its simplest form, what the theology of original sin means is that we are all born sinners. And because we're sinners, we got some serious work to do if we want to go to heaven. As a young person in my 20s, I took this seriously because it was scary. In fact, I took all of the separations which this church taught very seriously. There were separations everywhere. There were separations between heaven and earth, heaven and hell, sinner and saint, who could preach, who could not preach, who's pleasing, who's not pleasing, who's in, who's out, who's a Christian, who's not a Christian, along with a God who was separate, a God who's up there, out there, somewhere, waiting to be invited in. For me, this was seriously scary stuff. Because I didn't want to be on the wrong side of that either or dividing line. So I spent a lot of time fearing and doubting and sweating and confessing. And I wasn't just afraid for myself. I was afraid for my friends and my loved ones, all of those people who I have absolutely no control over. Why? Because, truth be told, I didn't know a lot of folk who were good at the saintly stuff. That includes myself. This was especially difficult for me when it came to my youngest son, Aaron, whose life was a constant struggle to fit into the socially constructed boxes. Aaron had a hugely generous and compassionate heart, an extremely high IQ, and he flunked out of school. When he wasn't in jail, he had a good job. He earned good money, but he never had any money because he gave it all away. Rarely did he have a driver's license, so he rode a bike. And he would ride it back and forth from Florida to Georgia to Indiana. That was his sacred circle of life. Aaron knew Jesus. He confessed his sins. He was baptized. So in spite of the fact that his life frequently was hell on earth, according to church, he was going to heaven. Nothing else mattered. And sadly, I, like so many others, bought in. I bought into the theology of original sin with all of the required beliefs and creeds and doctrines. Until I learned about a different theology. The theology of original blessing, and oh, what a relief that was to me. It was a gift of liberation, a new understanding of salvation. The theology of original blessing is an alternative way of thinking and believing. And it's biblically based. It's rooted in the very same creation story. But instead of focusing on Eve, who ate the apple and got everybody kicked out of the garden, original blessing focuses on the part of the story where the creative, life-giving energy of love repeats. It is good, it is good, it is good with every act of creation. Every person is a blessing. And every person has a potential to screw stuff up. We are sinner and we are saintly. And the Holy One celebrates us, all of us, not just the socially acceptable.